Rek'Sai open if they want to pick it. Sim has been a very popular AD, but Corki's still quite good if they want to go down that route as well. And of course, Thresh, the other big support I couldn't remember before, also very popular. So plenty of options here for Qlimax crew.
Yeah, they pretty much have an open board. That's a good flex pick.
I think that's a great pick. Yeah.
You can go top, you can go jungle. You can even be playing mid depending on what the composition is. So I like that being picked up, but they're going to give away Janna Rek'Sai. That is such a strong hit back.
Yeah, and this is always what we talk about in draft, is that you, on the blue side, you're going to get the best champion that's still open. In this case, for Qlimax, it's Jarvan. But those are two really good picks, and you generally don't want to draft on the blue side and give two champions that are this strong overall if you're not on the red side.
And I think it is really a good strategy for red side to ban what you don't want to play against and leave the rest of the pool open so you can do exactly what they've just done there on Sudden Fear side. I picked up a nice first round.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about Rek'Sai yesterday. We'll see a little bit more of her today. I know you're a big fan of how popular she is. I mean, her kit just seems like it does basically everything you'd want.
Yeah, her kit is fantastic late game for being able to push out lanes and still be able to get to a team fight with that ultimate. Obviously has a lot of mobility, and a knock-up is one of the best bombs to CC in the game. But the thing that we don't really talk about much with Rek'Sai, and I think is really important, is the vision control she gets. She's able to go into that burrow form, even if you don't have wards down, be able to scout out where the team is and give yourself a rough idea where they're hanging in.
Yeah, so kind of a long consideration there for Qlimax crew, but they're going to pick Ezreal and Aurelia as their second and third picks here. And this is, again, two very popular champions, but it seems like Jarvan's going to be going into the jungle.
Yeah, it certainly does, and Aurelia is seeing more and more popularity come back into play, particularly with the Rumbles and the Lissandras being up in top lane. Does shut down mages quite well. We'll be interested to see if they go with the Morgana pick. We spoke about it a little bit yesterday, but against Janna, I feel that if you have these dive-heavy comps like a Jarvan, like an Aurelia, you need something to be able to get in on them. Otherwise, you burn a lot of your gap closers and get caught on a re-engage.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens here. Sudden Fear, plenty of time left to get their third and fourth picks here. I think Squiggle as well, very known Aurelia players. Probably a lot of these top lanes that used to play like, thank God she's good again, because they kind of miss playing her. She was almost bad for, what, a season and a half?
Yeah, the only person that was really seeing a lot of success with her in the top lane was maybe even Mickey Whale as well. We see a Shen.
Speaking of old school top laners, yeah, Caitlyn and Shen, the third and fourth picks here for Sudden Fear. She won a movie ban yesterday, which was kind of novel, to say the least, but Shen, I have not seen this man in a long time.
Yeah, definitely haven't. And he is one of the old school Aurelia counters, gets around the map, plays quite decently against her, and so much respect being given to Katie. He's picked up LeBlanc for himself, but you see that Pabs doesn't want to pick up any mid laner until he sees exactly what Katie's going to be doing.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. This is like Qlimax just considering, but it looks like Morgana is going to be the support they'll go with, to pairing with that LeBlanc. And we talk a lot about popular champions on the server. LeBlanc is definitely one that's just seen so much play, pretty much ever since World's finished.
Yeah, definitely. And just people thought she was a little bit weaker than she was. I found when the nerf went through, she still has a lot of the burst potential. And while she did lose that silence, the best form of CC is death, and she can still definitely take people off the map.
I think the other thing as well is that LeBlanc eventually saw the shift away from maxing your Q and still silence to maxing Distortion. So all of a sudden, as an assassin who's hyper mobile with a decent CC and chain still, you have all this wave clear that you can bring to the table as well. LeBlanc, if you're good with her, you just have all the options because her ultimate got buffed massively.
Yeah, definitely. And Morgana fits this comp so well. They've got three people that want to dive in, and then Ezreal, who can pretty much self-heal if he goes that blue build that we saw yesterday out of CNJ, who had a couple of really nice games on the edge. Morgana, with that black shield, going to make it even more easy to get in there. As we see, wow, nice poke comp coming out of here with Xerath being picked up.
Yeah, and we tend to see this a lot when we see Jannas, in that people want to play less hard engage and more like less standard AoE team fight, and just more engage, disengage, more pure, and in this case more poke. And Janna just lets you get away from the enemy so easily and gives you so many strong options in skirmishes. So I like what's happening here. It's good to play Caitlyn this way, but I'm definitely afraid for the lanes here potentially, because Xerath especially could be a little bit weak to assassins.
Yeah, definitely. And with the Jarvan coming in there, if he gets a flash blown early, he's in a lot of trouble of being repetitively ganked. You can see that Sudden Fear are going for a team comp that spikes very early. Caitlyn's going to look to shove that wave out, take the first turret, maybe around the 12-13 minute mark, and then just head mid. This is about getting a lead, snowballing it, and picking up repetitive objectives for their team. And
if that's your plan, Xerath's a great champion to do that with. If you're just going to start pushing it 10-12 minutes down the mid lane, you want a really strong siege champion, and Xerath fits the bill nicely here. I guess whenever we look at team comps, we always want to look at jungle pressure, because the jungle, of course, has changed so much. Jarvan, we know, great early game pressure. We saw some really fun level 2 ganks yesterday in our second series, I believe. But what do you think of Rek'Sai's early pressure? Because those tunnels, you can get really creative with how you gank and where you path.
Yeah, you definitely can. And the best thing about our tunnels is when you get your early backs through, you can kind of set a network out of your jungle, which means that if you show top side and set a network of tunnels bottom side, you can get to bottom side before people expect you to be there. So she has a lot of creative jungle pathing just because of how our network of tunnels work. You can show in certain places and get some good ganks off. As I said, she also stays extremely healthy in the jungle, so she does have the option to do 4 camps and a gank, which not a lot of junglers do.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And of course, on the Qlimax crew side, a bit more standard here, just a lot of popular champions. As we've seen a lot more of LeBlanc and Jarvan and Aurelia. We've also seen a lot of, but nothing super synergistic, it seems like. Just a lot of strong champions and a lot of good engage and disengage options.
Yeah, the one thing they do have going is that they're going to look to get on top of the other team. That's the one thing that they do synergize on well, is getting in there and blowing someone up. The surprising thing is going to be if they can get a Shen ultimate down on the side of Sudden Fear and protect that person that all these assassins are going for, then it becomes a long extended team fight and they don't really want to, I guess, extend it with a Xerath in the game.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of, protect the AD or 2 damage strategies. So Orianna Caitlyn, I think, or Orianna Ezreal as a very popular duo yesterday, a very popular core. And it's same sort of thing when you have a champion like Janna who's so good at protecting your AD. And even the Shen shield, which I'd almost forgotten about. I can't believe there's a Shen in this game of all the champions. But you're right, you can defend really well. And I think Rek'Sai Shen's a really cool duo as well, because you can just port all around the map all of a sudden. We haven't seen a global comp in a long time.
Yeah, and especially because Shen has taken a teleport as well, so we'll be able to leave his lane with his ultimate and get a massive shield down, but also be able to teleport back to his lane, which Aurelia won't have the freedom to. She's going to have to choose, do I join the fight or do I stay and try and push this lane out?
And I think the nice thing is, if they're planning on poking and split pushing a lot, or even just sieging a lot, having options in terms of mobility around the map's really important, because, if you're, say, sieging with Xerath, Caitlyn, Janna, and all of a sudden you get 5-man, the one thing you really wish is that the rest of your team could join. You could actually have a real team fight, and now they can.
Yeah, they certainly can. And the other thing is they have a lot of choices on when they let themselves lose a team fight but take objectives in the side lanes, or when they come together as 5. If you play a 1-3-1, we see times all games where, they get 5-man dove, they might pick up a kill, but because of where the lanes are being pressured, that's all they get is kills, and they start losing objectives, and they start losing the gold lead.
And I think for Qlimax, though, just a lot of really strong aggressive champions. Bottom lane maybe a little weak. Ezreal Morgana not the most aggressive. Bottom lane's actually pretty typically defensive, like a lot of Morgana lanes, but plenty of options there, and lots of good mobility in fights and skirmishes as well. But Aurelia is a very strong laner, and LeBlanc is insanely strong 1v1 in that mid lane.
Yeah, the danger is, however, is that they might get pushed in a little bit too hard. Moon on Morgana, unless he can land some very good early binds and some Mystic shots come through, is going to be severely outclassed by Brawler on this Janna. All the added AD that goes over onto Caitlyn is just going to mean that she takes turrets so fast and just pushes out waves, and Ezreal doesn't have that AoE early.
Yeah, his ultimate's good, but even that isn't enough really at level 6, because it doesn't even really full clear a wave. It clears mostly the back, and you kind of have to trim from there. And Morgana, as you mentioned, is just like, soil, prey, and it's just, not going to work for you. So we'll see what happens here. Should we get into the game relatively shortly? But I like a lot of what's going on here. I think a lot of what we've been seeing that's been successful both yesterday in the games we saw and internationally is just on show here. And I think for me, stuff like Aurelia. But we are going to get into the game here. First game between Qlimax and Sudden Fear. Qlimax on the left-hand side, Sudden Fear on the right-hand side. There'll be our red team here for this one. And we've seen a lot of defensive level 1 spawn to start things off. So I imagine we'll see some pretty similar starts here as well.
Yeah, I was actually surprised at how defensively they played the level 1s yesterday. Seeing a Morgana and a Shen in this game means that there is a little bit more flexibility with level 1s, but it does look like they will just be fanning out and playing it nice and safe.
Yep, just a pretty standard 4-point defense here. Sybil will go ahead and try and check that brush with his banner, and everyone's going to hang out at level 1, just splitting the items as well. Nothing too unusual. Crystalline Flask is a little curious here from Aurelia. I think definitely committing to a bit more of just a safer farmer. Farmer? That's not even a real word. Safer, more farming lane here in the top.
Yeah, definitely looking to farm that one out and get into the Trinity Force power spike that we've seen. We saw a very interesting Aurelia build yesterday out of Carlos's God, where he went super aggro with a couple of Doran's blades and boots too, trying to really win that lane. But against a Shen, especially if he gets a couple of extra points into that W early, has so much sustain off his Q, is going to be hard to shove out a lane.
Yeah, we call it a classic top lane matchup, and that is certainly true, but like a lot of classic top lane matchups, that basically just means that we're going to see a lot of farming there. Xerath is kind of checking things out in the mid as well. Seems like the junglers will actually be starting on the same buff but opposite sides of the map. Looks like blue or Grump into blue for both junglers.
Yeah, and this is probably going to lead to an early advantage on the side of Qlimax crew, because they'll be able to pick up the Gromps for each other.
The Krugs.
Sorry, get those
That's
ones
all right.
wrong a little bit. And they will have the earlier level 2, particularly if they put 2 levels onto Ezreal. By giving him 100% of the experience, Stealthix might be able to get an early lead.
Yep, so they're going to start those Krugs. They will take them out, and looks like they're just going to take one, actually. They're going to take the big one. I guess they don't want to miss minions, but a nice little experience jumps always helps.
Yeah, so maybe this is a little bit cheeky as well, because they look like they're arriving to lane on time, like they've leashed to the jungle. So this might give a little bit of confusion as to where the jungler Sybil is on the side of Qlimax, who he's, of course, at the blue buff.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge amount of experience, but they're still going to be the first bottom lane to hit level 2. In fact, they hit it here. No, not quite, neither. It looks like 2 more minions or so. But, I mean, we used to talk a lot about level 2 all-ins, and if Qlimax want to do that, they have the option now with a little bit of extra experience. They got up just the 1 minion.
Yeah, and we see Energizer repetitively pushing this lane. Sometimes you even see Gianna Caitlyn as the level 2 comes through, but nothing much doing. Celtics only had a 1 creep advantage for it.
Yeah, so not quite fast enough. Again, you mentioned that Ezreal Morgana doesn't really push particularly quickly, so unable to get that advantage. But again, Ezreal, if he's safely farming in this bottom lane, he's having a good time.
Yeah,
Just doesn't want to get pushed.
This is the one dangerous part of the lane for the Caitlyn Gianna, because now Jarvan is on the bottom side of the map. Doesn't look like he wants to visit bottom, however, so yeah, they're completely safe. They can tornado waves and just shove them into the turret with Piltover all day.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's just sort of committed to farming right now. Top lane is, of course, going to be a farm fest. Squiggle very comfortably last hitting with his Aurelia under this tower. And we see Aurelia, one of the best last hitters under turret. Blade Surge has such a good ability for clearing out waves. It's going to be happily freezing this wave as far back as she can. Although it did take quite a bit of damage, so good taunt from Shen will get himself out. But nice little trade there from Squiggle's Aurelia.
Yeah, able to get a little bit more damage down. Shen, as I said, it just sustains so well in top lane. And he's got the reverse going. Pushing early, but making sure it doesn't hit the turret is so important, as we see maybe the first gank coming out from Rek'Sai in the top lane.
And Rek'Sai's ganks early are very, very strong here. In fact, Squiggle is going to get aggressed on. There he goes. Great knock-up there. Did dash away, but it's not quite enough. Squiggle, though, going to run back to that tower and will be okay, but nice pressure there from a pink Burmy.
Yeah, good dash to not have to burn flash there from Squiggle means that he will be able to just teleport back into the top lane. Won't lose out on much, as wow, Katie, some nice threading the needle there.
That was a sniper chain and a sick distortion to dodge the stun there as well. So Katie clearly practiced on LeBlanc, and that's kind of what we say about a lot of LeBlanc players. This champion has so much going on in terms of mechanics, but if you're on top of it, you can just abuse people in mid lane, and that's what Katie's going to try and do here.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of respect being given to Katie. Had a ban thrown at him, didn't want to first pick any of those mid laners off the board just because wanted to have the option of counter picking Katie, and did go with this Zerath. So they're looking to win this mid lane. They have a little bit of a CS advantage, but maybe not enough to justify the pick so far.
Yep, Sybil just running into the enemy blue side jungle there as well. Just get some wards down. Wasn't going to look for a tower dive or maybe a Gromp steal, but we'll maybe look to go down towards the bottom now. At least have a little bit of pressure. There is a ward there, so Suddenfield will know what's up. But Sybil's at least going to force them back here on this Jarvan.
Ooh, and cost Energizer the cannon creep as well, so that's important, being able to deny as much CS as possible. And wow, Ezreal actually has the creep advantage, it's not because he's not being pushed in. We've seen that he's being pushed continuously. Stealthic's just doing a good job of last hitting when he can with that Q from Ezreal.
And I think one of the really interesting things about the top 3 junglers right now on this patch is that they're all really, really good at pressuring lanes early. And I feel like we've seen a lot of bottom lanes not want to be super aggressive with where they're pushing or freezing their lanes just so they don't get ganked early.
Yeah, that is definitely the case, as we see a little bit of counter jungling going on as well. Squiggle needs to be careful. He does have the ward, but he's pushed a long way up, and that wave is quite big. If he was to die right now, that would be devastating for his lane, so he's going to back off. None of the creeps will die, so he won't miss out on much.
Yeah, still is his flash there as well, so he'll be fine. Rek'Sai will just visit the top lane, but again, nice little bit of counter jungling. Can see them as well. I think that tunnel just spotted Jarvan, who I think probably collapsed that, and Sybil's going to continue jungling himself. So pretty placid start here to kick things off, but again, a lot of these lanes, with the exception of, I guess, mid lane, is very, very farm heavy, and in fact, LeBlanc's behind now, quite significantly, in fact.
Yeah, Zerath has just got a very big creep wave pushing into a turret. Will pick up a couple of CS, but will be behind, so good job from Apaps there to be able to get himself back ahead in this lane.
Yeah, Katie, they're going to blast it very, very nicely under this turret. Cleans out all of the creeps. Needs to get that one. Does throw the Q out. And now level 6. So can potentially start pressuring. I think this is the awkward thing with LeBlanc. Despite the fact that you max distortion, really pushing lanes out early is something she does struggle with.
Yeah, it is very mana intensive to distortion that wave whenever it comes up. Look for him to go for some early mana regen. I expected Morella Nomicon to come out here. Not the usual build we see. We do sometimes see DFG coming out first, but just against the Xerath, you really need to be able to match that wave pressure.
Yep. And once you can start distorting waves, I mean, it is also your escape, so it can get a bit awkward, but once your ultimate's up, you can just start clearing waves a little bit more freely there. So we'll see. Probably care to get a little back into the lane now that she's hit level 6. Rollin is going to take a bit of poke, but Jana will be okay as well. I'm curious to see how much gold is on these Spell Thief's edges, by the way. Again, these are two very aggressive sort of supports. And we saw yesterday when Flying Jew was playing, he just always wanted to get in and get his gold.
Yeah, he definitely took advantage of that Spell Thief's edge and got himself a little bit of an early lead. It's completely even at 7 minutes in this game, so... Yeah, Stealthic's really holding it together here for Qlimax crew, because the rest of the lanes, they're not struggling, but they are falling a little bit behind.
Yeah, well, we can talk at least about junglers who've gone and finished up their first major items. Longswords are plenty. Sybil actually maybe going to spot Rek'Sai is going to go through. No ultimates here available for either Pro Seeker, just missing there as well. But Sybil will pop off there. Rek'Sai will just throw out some wards. Tremasen's kind of spotting Javan moving through there as well. On the top, Blue Whales have respawned, so we'll have our first donations of the game.
Yeah, being able to give them over is so important. Level 6 is important for both our junglers as well. We spoke about the map pressure that comes out of Rek'Sai, but the Cataclysm is just the... We spoke about the importance of using it to burn flashes and then get back to the lane. Flag and Drag, of course, great early CC, but Cataclysm is really unmatched in the fact that it can burn so many summoner spells early.
Yeah, we'll see as Squiggle now pushing a bit more aggressively. Went back and got 8 Doran's Blade, so maybe going to get a little more aggressive in this top lane. Christmas trees on Shen. Going very defensively. Looks like an early random. It's good taunt actually into the turret. Squiggle needs to be careful. He just takes so much damage actually. That is the danger of getting too close to Shen.
Yeah, I don't think Squiggle will mind. He wanted to back anyway. That's why he blew his ultimate to be able to push out the rest of that wave. But we'll come back pretty much equal in the mid lane because of how Shen does last hit. None of the Coops taking any damage right now. As Moon walks over a pink ward.
Yep, does spot it. So we'll start. He's like, wait a second, what? Uh-oh.
You need to be careful with those pink wards. 5 auto attacks, especially on a support who has no additional attack speed, takes a very long time.
That's true. Hopefully he knows it's there, though. I mean, it's good to get into the habit of moving through rushes, but not if you're not watching. In fact, Moon's kind of sticking around, maybe trying to get a roam gank here on the mid lane. Yeah, pretty committed here. Blue buffs are both mid laners as well, so LeBlanc going to find an even easier time clearing out these minion waves and trying to match that push from Xerath. But I think we're going to see, again, pretty safe play here from Apex, and he should be just fine.
Yeah. LeBlanc using that ultimate there does give him the opportunity to go and didn't black shield himself. That's a little bit of a misplay from Moon there, but because both Stealthix and the bottom line from Sudden Fear had gone back, there wasn't really much else for him to do on the map, so not much time wasted. We'll be able to recall and then head back bottom.
Yep. Had level 6 already as well, so isn't really looking for any level threshold. Didn't need the extra experience, so just gave Stealthix a bit of free time. That's Sybil now going to clear out his jungle a bit more. He's had a very passive early game here, just lots of farming going on. Everyone just trying to keep up in their lanes. Seems to have favoured kind of both teams in different areas. Bottom lane doing well here for Qlimax, but top and mid lane both falling behind here. Sudden Fear ahead there.
Yeah, I think Sudden Fear has this game exactly where they want it. I actually think the pressure is on Qlimax here to try and get the snowball starting. As we see Katie going very aggressive.
Jumping in, that's a good snare there as well. Apex, great dodge to the stun. There's Sybil and gets first plug with the Cataclysm. Uses everything to cross all the way into the mid lane.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about. They needed to be the ones that got aggressive there. They were able to do it. Opens up the dragon for themselves. Stealthy, able to get a little bit of a push going in this bottom lane as well. Energizer and Brawler having to back off.
And that potentially opens up the dragon now as well. Energizer still trying to zone out here, but we'll have to clean up that mini wave. And here we go, Qlimax in attempt the first dragon of the game here. Nice getting there from Javan, and really good. Synced really nicely with the push here as well on the bottom lane.
Yeah, that's a very brave dragon, just because of how good Shen's ultimate is in that situation, but able to pick it up, so first dragon in the game going.
Yeah, Squiggle pressuring there as well. Was pretty confident that Shen was going to be unable to TP into that situation, or even ultimate, you can cancel that as well. So nice there from Qlimax. So again, we talked about they needed to do something, and 10-minute dragon's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, that is exactly what they needed. Able to pick up the first kill and the dragon, so nicely played there. Squiggle able to shove in the Shen as well, so Christmas Tree's having a hard time. He's going for what looks like a Randuin's Omen first item. We tend to see Sunfire Caves more often from Shen just to help him split push. And no aggressive build. We even sometimes see that famous Trinity Force coming out just to give him a little bit more dueling potential.
Almost says to me that Christmas Trees is expecting the landing phase to go a little bit longer, or is expecting to get quite a bit more farm just because he can kind of stay in a lane with his ultimate and never have to leave until the last second. So he'll likely follow with a Sunfire Cape after this or some sort of wave clear item because he does want to be able to push. But right now he needs to fight Squiggle. Best way to do that is with the Randuins.
Yeah, and we see Rek'Sai once again using that ultimate early just to farm up the jungle a little bit quicker. He's winning that CS by 10, so doing a nice job there is a Pink Bomby, farming that one up. But, ooh, and wow, Katie again going aggressive.
Yeah, really sniping out Paps here with those ethereal chains and using distortion beautifully. So you can tell that the lane's shifting a bit more now. Zerat's still ahead in CS, which is nice, but LeBlanc's catching up here. And of course, after the pressure of that first kill, Paps still without either of his summoner spells. If Katie can get a good snare again and 100-0 him or whatever health he ends up at, Zerat's going to have more and more trouble in this lane. In fact, Charlotte's found a friend.
Sybil's aggressing up to a Pink Bomby in this lane.
Going in and look at the Rek'Sai damage there as well. Pops the Cataclysm, instantly gets a flash. This feels so rewarding. Katie, though, going in, does miss the chain. Good tunnel out there from Rek'Sai. But again, this mid-jungle duo is getting a lot of early pressure for Qlimax.
Yeah, it certainly is as well. The stun coming out. Katie has to be extremely careful here. Wow, he's in ultimate range.
Yeah, ultimate is here as well, but does not want to move it. Good scrying orb, actually. But LeBlanc's already too far away. Unfortunately, can't get the snap there, but that was adorable.
Yeah, picking it up extremely early. I actually hadn't seen that came through from Paps, and I think that it would have almost been worth just to throw that one out. There's not much pressure anywhere else on the map at the moment, so he's not looking to pick up any other kills. So why not get it out there, see if he can pick up a kill in response, as the Morellonomicon does come through for Katie.
Yeah, dueling Morellonomicons. In fact, both mid laners going for the pretty popular standard mid lane item now. Just soak out division. Athene's got a little bit nerfed, so nobody wants to do that. It's part of the reason we're seeing so many more assassins as well, especially mage assassins, come back into the fray. LeBlanc, of course. Probably the biggest benefit of that particular change.
Yeah, I think that it would have been okay for Apex to actually hold on to his gold and go for an Athene's at the moment, just because the added MR can never be understated against LeBlanc. How important it is to have the ability to survive the up home first and then be able to dish out some damage in return. So an interesting build path coming out of there of Apex, but he is winning the lane by about 20 CS, so got to trust in that.
Blue buff's going to get donated over as well, Zereth. Be very thankful for that. Certainly have to make the most of her blue buffs now, because they do not last nearly as long as they used to. I think most mid laners just tend to use them either if there's a fight that's coming up, like a key dragon fight you want to win, or just to shove at your lane and get more aggressive and maybe look for a roam as well.
Yeah, it certainly does. And we've also seen an added Duran's ring being picked up in a lot of situations where people go double Duran's and their mana regen item for that exact purpose. They just don't last as long, and you do need to be able to farm on these mid laners.
Yeah, one of the nice little things about this comp as well from Sudden Fear, we kind of mentioned that Rek'Sai Shen is a really cute global core that we haven't seen that much of, because there just aren't very many good global ultimates, and Shen has seen barely any play since a very long season of bugs. But Xerath is a champion that we've seen a lot in terms of semi-globaling people, where if you apply pressure with your jungler, you're able to add to a gank almost instantly just by rotating halfway down the river. And Shen, Rek'Sai, Xerath is actually really good as well for that exact purpose. If they start a gank, they can almost always finish it with Paps' ultimate.
Yeah, they certainly can, and the CC that can come out of both those champions will make Xerath's ultimate extremely easy to hit, so got that added advantage as well. As we see Katie looking for a chain just out of range, and it is Sunfire Cave actually has been picked up by Shen.
Alright, nice. So to finish that, of course, component's still the same there as well, so did finish that Sunfire Cave. Does have Merc trades as well, so clearly a little bit more concerned about some of the other members, and a bit of the CC. Really tight distortions here though for Katie. Clearly quite good at this LeBlanc champion, and Blue Love's helping out here as well.
Yeah, and we see that Paps has to farm very far back now, so even though he's winning in CS, Katie is playing this lane extremely confidently. We spoke about how important decisive play is on this patch, being able to punish mistakes and looking to get in there and start mixing it up.
Yeah, Rek'Sai's tunneling in, level 11 now for Shen. That's a big jump in power for his ultimate if he wants to go use it, but hasn't had to leave his lane yet. Riley, of course, splitting up towards it. Trinity Force, that might be go time. Squiggle does notice there's a good taunt there. He's going to tunnel in. Squiggle needs to be careful. Knockup does hit there as well. Squiggle does have the flash, uses it quite quickly here, but Shen going to keep chasing in. Great Price Seeker as well, and they will go for the dive. Knife to the back there from Shen, and there's a nice kill up in the top lane.
Yeah, and a really smart gank, because as we said, both these champions have globals, so even if Sybil hadn't responded with a gank in another lane, Shen could have left the lane immediately, left Rek'Sai to push it in, and that is a massive minion wave pushing into Squiggle's turret.
Yeah, and even for a Pink Burmy, he has tunnels almost everywhere, but right down in the bottom lane, so he could have also left as well. So we're going to get some pressure. Nope, just farming. I feel like it's 50-50 on a Rek'Sai ultimate, whether or not it's for farming or for ganking.
Yeah, I feel like before the 25-minute mark, it's used purely to get back into your jungle a little bit quicker. And, you know, I think that because of how short the cooldown is, it isn't necessarily a bad decision either.
No, it's not like some of these old school global ultimates that have, you know, a million years worth of cooldown on them.
Yeah, and we see that Rek'Sai has picked up an early side stone as well, so really valuing that vision control early in the game. As the Dragon does respawn, Shen, of course, has that ultimate to come through.
Yep, great timing on the Roof Scuttler as well. So they'll have the speed trying to available if they do want to force fight. Sudden Fear have started the Dragon, but Qlimax are here to defend.
They're a little bit split for Qlimax. They need to be careful that Katie doesn't get collapsed on by himself.
That's a really nice fight, actually. Brawler could be in a bit of trouble. Exhaust does get thrown down. And top lane as well is hilarious to me because it's whoever blinks first on the teleport. In fact, Shen does not have his, but he does have his ultimate. So depending on who travels away first, they're probably going to get it cancelled.
Yeah, they certainly are, as we see. Still juggling the aggro on the Dragon. I think they don't have enough control over this area to be able to risk it, so they are now starting to back off. Katie wisely pushing out that mid lane, so up on the turret now, getting some damage now, but Christmas Tree just really asserting some authority in the top lane now.
Yeah, it can now move as well, so if certain people want to go back to the Dragon, they can, but everyone's kind of split back to their lanes. Paps wants to defend his mid lane turret from Katie, and we're going to reset here. So no second Dragon there, the first one did go nice and early over to Qlimax, but after that great mid lane gank for First Blood, but we're going to take a little bit longer here, and again, everyone's kind of powering up. If that's the case here, where are we looking at about 20-25 minutes? Because that's kind of the next big spike for these teams. We're going to have a big mid-game brawl.
Yeah, I feel as soon as the gauntlet is finished on Ezreal, Qlimax have maybe a 5-minute window where he's going to be on 2 items, and unfortunately, Energizer's only going to be on that Infinity Edge still. So they have control over the team fights at that point in the game. However, if this game continues to go into the late game, with how Christmas Trees and Apex have been able to farm, they will be sitting very, very pretty for a late game team comp.
We'll have to see. Xerath powering up as well. Finishes a needlessly large rod for himself. So moving towards Idol. Oh, goodness. Gank in the middle. There's the all used by Shen. Sybil in trouble, actually. And Katie's Mimic's got under the tower, but they've both gotten away safely here. Pink Pony almost sniping with the Price Seeker ultimate. Going to come through as well. It's just in range. But the second ball does not hit. Sybil's safe as well. He was quite low. And a good attempt, but no dice there.
Yeah, great stun coming out of Squiggle to stop the ultimate from Shen there, but all in all, a lot of resources used on the side of Qlimax crew for no kills, and this will mean a Dragon being picked up by Sudden Fear.
Yeah, and that's more than enough for Sudden Fear here. No big team fight needed. Moon here. Maybe going to try a steal. He does throw down a pink ward. Treasure Barrage will hit
teleport
Xerath,
coming in.
Yeah, that's bad. And his pink bomb, he does get locked up as well. Dragon's still quite a bit of health left, so they will have to back off here. And if this gets denied by Qlimax, that'll be good moves. They're going to try and steal. They do get the Dragon, but Morgana moving in does not pull the trigger on the ultimate. And Sudden Fury going to get away with that.
Yeah, Shen flash taunted underneath the turret to stop that teleport. That was what allowed them to continue the Dragon, tying it up at 1-1. And wow, Sudden Fury are playing this mid-game quite nicely.
Yeah, decided that, you know what, we don't really want to try and fight this Blue Rose. We got that spike that you mentioned, so just going to use their poke, use the pressure they got in the middle of the map from the tower dive that Qlimax had gone for, and go for that Dragon instead. So, oh, Sybil, goodbye. Brawler there does pick up credit for that kill, but pretty sure Xerath was dealing most of that damage.
Yeah, definitely was. Qlimax were able to pick up the mid turret, so that's a good response, but losing their jungler means that this mid lane will be pushed out quite quickly. Perhaps a little bit low, so might have to go back to shop.
You can see Xerath there as well, just destroying creep waves now with his abilities. In fact, it's going to get worse for his Moon. Going to catch Energizer here, whose Caitlyn does get snared up. Christmas Trees has come down. Rek'Sai ulted down towards that lane as well, and that will actually force Qlimax off.
Yeah, and nice teleport as we have Katie actually stalking Paul Brawler through this mid lane. We'll be able to pick up the pink ward in response, so clear out some of that important vision.
Yeah, but Dragon not up for quite a few minutes, but Qlimax going to try and get some of their vision control back. And again, we haven't really broken up much of these lanes. Only one tower's down. That's actually the mid tower that Qlimax got a couple minutes ago. And other than that, we're settling in for a little bit more farming, it seems like. Gold was about 1,000 ahead for Sudden Fear, but we've evened it up to about 800 now.
Yeah, and this is one of the slower games we've seen so far, particularly if you have a jungler like Sybil who does like to get into effect lanes earlier. I'm surprised that this is going at such a slow pace. I feel that Qlimax really need to start making some moves with this LeBlanc, otherwise might peter off towards the late game.
I think they're waiting for 2 item spikes for both Ezreal and for LeBlanc. I feel like that's the trigger for them. They've got Trinity Force in Aurelia now, plus Mercred, so Squiggle's good to go if they start a fight. The next Dragon, I guess, will be their best point, because hopefully Ezreal's finished his Ice Bomb Gauntlet and he's transformed that Manamune, and then the DFG's look, which looks like what Katie's going for, is finished up as well. And if that all gets finished by the time Sudden Fury are ready to fight for that next Dragon, Qlimax in a really good split around 25 minutes.
Yeah, I think that even though Squiggle is in a good position, it looks like Shen is as well. And wow, the jungle is meat.
Yeah, Rek'Sai doing so much damage to Jarvan as well. Does flag and drag over. Squiggle will come through. That's a kill. Katie up the top as well. We'll get the trade. But Rek'Sai just dishing out the damage.
Yeah, and it looks like we have Christmas Trees being forced out of the top lane as well, as Turret is taken down in the mid lane. So a little bit of a connection issue there for Christmas Trees in the top lane. We'll see what's going on there and get it sorted out ASAP.
Is that a Hex Drinker? I
think, for Rex? I think it is.
It is.
I was trying to figure it out. I thought it was something sweet, but it's not. It's just a hex drinker. So, let's kind of analyze where we are in this point. As we said, very slow game, I think, from what we saw yesterday. We had long games in the series that we casted yesterday, but everyone's playing really carefully. Nobody wants to overcommit to objectives. And interestingly, both dragons have been taken off, I think, one kill, or in the second case, just pressure. Not even a kill needed there.
Yeah, just a mistimed dive. Gave them complete control over the dragon area. A little bit questionable there out of Qlimax crew because they knew exactly what the next objective was. The thing that is surprising me is how slow Energizer and Brawler are playing in this bottom lane. We spoke about the pushing power that comes out of Janakate, but they're not using it to their advantage whatsoever. Not getting going in the mid game, and it just looks like they're playing this a little bit slow. 22 minutes in, it's only 1,000 gold in it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Caitlyn and a Janna in this game, plus a Xerath, and we've got 2 towers that have been taken in 20 minutes. So quite a bit slower than we expect here, but both teams are playing very safe here. And we talk about the misdive. I think that has more to do with just knowing that the dragon's up and wanting to take it, because the best course of action is probably killing someone, which is how they got the first dragon. It's just a matter of when that dive goes wrong, it just doesn't work nearly as well.
Yeah, especially if it means that it's killing that Xerath in the mid lane, because, of course, he is one of those people that can just poke you off a dragon for days. As we have Squiggle now with a red buff, going to be able to bully Christmas Tree off this turret and pick up another second turret for his team.
That was a very aggressive blade set as well. Christmas Trees will back up on his Shen, does have his ultimate if he needs to join for any sort of fight. But Squiggle with that Trinity Force looking good. That was a great chain as well. Pat going to get blown up here, but Brawler is also coming in. True Chop Rod has hit. There's the old reset attempt there for the Monsoon, but kills him through exhaust, and now Brawler in a whole host of trouble, forced to flash away.
Yeah, we'll be able to get out, but that is another kill over onto the side of Qlimax crew. AFAP's heal just came off cooldown as he was about to die, so that's not fantastic for him. A lot of pressure in this top lane now. Squiggle has completely caught up in CS.
Yeah, and this is what Qlimax are waiting for, I think. You know, Aurelia's powered up, and they have the option of grouping and trying to fight, but there's no dragon to fight for. Baron's not really worth fighting for. What do? Pressure your own lane here, keep the Shen out back towards his base, and then let everyone else on the map farm up, and in Lamont's case, roam around with your jungler and start getting kills. For me, Qlimax, their mid and jungler have been the catalyst for pretty much every play.
Yeah, and I think that's the way it's going to stay. You can rely on Jarvan to really lock someone down for Katie to try and blow up. So look for that to be a continued pattern, and Aurelia just to keep this Shen busy. Although picking up a Giant's Belt, going for a more teamfight oriented build now with maybe a Randuin zone.
Yeah, and this is exactly what Qlimax are waiting for. Dragon up in, I think, 3 to 4 minutes, but the power spikes have now come through across the board. DFG's been finished up for LeBlanc, and Ezreal's got not just the gauntlet, but his cooldown boots as well. So if Qlimax want to force a fight in 2 minutes when that Dragon's coming up, they are in really, really good position to just brawl through the next one.
Yeah, they have very good control, although the death cap has been picked up on AFAPs now, so the poke coming out of this area may be enough. If they can get looks like it's going to actually be a PD on Caitlyn. Really going for that late game power early. Finished up before the dragon fight. Pretty even fight still, I think, coming up between two teams.
Yeah, and really it seems like Sudden Fury just using this Caitlyn as more of a standard carry and trying to keep her protected, keep her safe, and get lots of consistent damage output rather than maybe siege down some turrets, which is probably Caitlyn's best early to mid-game strength. But Qlimax know that this dragon's up. They're going to take out that crab pretty soon, get forward wards moving in. And if you're Sudden Fear and you don't have vision in this area, it is so scary to face check a LeBlanc, or in this case, a Jarvan Morgana.
Yeah, you're completely right about the Morgana. Morgana's that one that has that bind that seems to last for so long and can follow it up with the ultimate. As we see Stealthix 2v1ing this lane even far, and there's a 4-man collapse coming down as there's a gank top lane at the same time. This is bad news.
We got in trouble. That's a good stun, though. And I'll actually completely deny the gank there. Squiggle popped his ult. He's poor Rek'Sai, and that's it. And if Rek'Sai doesn't get back down for this dragon, Qlimax can actually just jump on it, and it's very likely that neither of them can get there. And now Sybil, looking for a dive, it doesn't get it. That should get them this tower, though.
Yeah, Sudden Fear completely pushed off this turret. That's bad news. That's all 3 outers going down. Only 1,000 gold lead on the side of Qlimax, but starting to open up the map as that dash just misses in the top lane.
Yeah, Christmas is really trying to fight, but Squiggle keeping control of his tower here. And again, we're going to have maybe a chicken up here with the teleport. Squiggle getting aggressive. Cute blade set onto a minion just for fun. In fact, John has now been jumped on as well. Good dodge there from Brawler, will not get bound, but here's a blue buff going to go over to Ezreal possibly.
This will be so important. No, Sybil had to smite it away. If they hadn't been able to get that on Ezreal, would have meant that they might have been able to just poke people off for days with a frozen gauntlet.
Yeah, maybe a misplay as well to smite when the dragon is coming up in 8 seconds as well. Because you just kind of, like, I feel like that was the next thing Qlimax wanted to do. They've taken their tower, they've got all their item spikes, but apparently they just wanted to secure that blue buff. Maybe a bit of muscle memory there from Sybil.
Yeah,
You
not
see the
only
low
that,
buff,
being
you wanna
able to
spite it.
deny it away from a Xerath, especially at this point in the game where he has picked up that death cap, just means that he can't poke for as long. And they're looking for a harder engage. I feel that Sybil isn't going to go for the dragon. He's going to draw them to the dragon, fly across that screen with a flag and drag, try and lock someone up with that cataclysm, and let Katie just get them off the map. Then they'll just take the dragon when they have the mismatched numbers.
Fair enough. I mean, we've definitely seen Qlimax be aggressive with their jungler and their mid laner, and that's how they've secured a lot of objectives. Squiggle as well, really powering up. I mean, Shen is fine against Aurelia in the top lane, but probably needs one, maybe 1.5 more items to finish up before he can just start bullying her out of that lane, because she's so hard to get off once she gets her Trinity Force. And we've seen Squiggle, he's actually opened up a lot of space for his team.
Yeah, and I feel like Shen is just building HP to nullify Katie because knows that will not be the person that Katie is really targeting. I think if Katie decides to burn all her cooldowns onto that Shen, then they've won the team fight anyway. So he's going to pick up a Randuin's Omen very soon. If he goes Thornmail Trinity Force after that, I feel there's no one on the map that can really deal with Christmas Tree in the top lane.
And that's exactly the position you want your Shen to be in. You want to make sure you can just always duel, because if you can not bring a 1v2 into your lane, you're not really going to apply enough split push pressure. And one thing that Sudden Fear have a lot in this comp are lots of global pressure, but they've never been able to use it yet, just based on where their comp's kind of been moving.
Yeah, so I feel that Squiggle is going to have to make a decision whether he continues with the team fight build as well. Katie gets taken out.
Gets nailed there by Apex as right of the Arcane, and does have to go home. The Dragon's up now as well. Sudden Fear maybe deciding that they want to be taking their second Dragon of the game. It's one apiece so far, but it seems like we're going to have it number 2 coming for Sudden Fear. Sybil, though, is in the area, but most of the Qlimax around, they can probably poke them off this, but the smite gets doesn't get used too early. Good bind will find him, but Rek'Sai does smite away the Dragon.
Yeah, this means that Squiggle will be in the top lane to continue to push though, but the ultimate being burned from Rek'Sai to potentially be able to get off that, so not going to be able to equalize the objectives here. Not having to use Shen's ultimate is so important as well. And AC Bombing maybe looking for the 1v1.
Doesn't have Shen's ult, but going to go for a beautiful equilibrium strike by Squiggle. Has been on point with stunning guns. Looks like down the bottom might have some problems.
Yeah,
should have a fight breakout and Stealthix able to pick up that kill.
Yeah, just being able to slow down for the Moon Bind coming through with Morgana. That's a pretty nice play out of there. And now that they've got to this point, equal in CS, kill on Ezreal, he's definitely sitting in the place that he wanted to be, as Phantom Dancer is being picked up now by Energizer.
Yeah, and he talked about it yesterday when we talked about Ezreal. If you ult and there's no creeps in the way blocking that ultimate, it does a lot of upfront damage.
That does so much burst damage. You put in there a Morgana ultimate as well as the bind that gets maxed on that support Morgana. Just a lot more damage than Caitlyn able to be able to deal with right now. Randuin's Omen finished for Squiggle in the top lane. I feel like he's got a really nice two-item power spike and that they need to group up now.
Yeah, Qlimax have just hit a lot of strong timings here. Last Whisper on the way now for Ezreal, who's pretty much just needing to transform that Manamune to really get things going. Sorkshoe's done here for LeBlanc with a probable Void stuff coming through with that amplifying term in the inventory. Squiggle, happy camper as well. Shen's kind of matching in items here, but still not quite able to force out Aurelia with no offensive item.
Yeah, he's just not the damage threat that Aurelia is. He's going to be a great zoning threat in team fights. Good split pushing with that Sunfire cape coming through, but Shen's just going to get better as the game goes on. I feel like Squiggle is going to be forced to invest in a second offensive item, which just means he's not going to be as effective unless he's taking time on the
Transform comes from Stealthix there as well. So Muramana is available now, which is a big deal for Blue Ezreal here. There's the last Whisper finished as well, so 3 items now up for Stealthix's Ezreal. And the gold, as you can see, not massive here, but Qlimax seem to have a bit more control of the map at this point, although they're the ones with only 1 dragon.
Yeah, I feel like this is their power spike. If they're going to win the game, they have to really start doing something now with that DFG being picked up by Katie. So look for them to really put some pressure over the map. Squiggle sitting on top of a ward needs to be careful right now. It does look like he's being collapsed on.
Yeah, getting surrounded, but just kind of senses it and able to walk out of the way. Will clear out a couple of wards. I think Qlimax are thinking a lot about Baron right now, 30 minutes. It's sort of the time where Baron just becomes an objective that you need to at least think about. And as you can see, Qlimax also posturing fairly aggressively around the mid lane. Need to be, I think, a little bit more vigilant with their deep warding here, because they don't quite have enough vision to try and make more plays.
Yeah, Qlimax are posturing like they want to deny vision, but haven't upgraded any of their sweepers apart from the one on Moon. I feel like they need to go back, get a couple more upgraded sweepers in, and really start strangling out the jungle of Sudden Fear, because they're just sitting back, happy to farm with this Xerath, with this Caitlyn, and just get as much CC onto their CS onto their carries as possible.
Yeah, one of my favorite ways to track vision presence for a team is to look where their line of pink wards is. If you look at Qlimax, their pink wards are down back towards their red buff. in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. So they really don't have any forward vision at all. They're still placing wards in actually their own territory, not even the neutral area of the river. So they definitely need to be a little bit more aggressive with their warding and get those wards further up. Because when you're playing with LeBlanc Java and you're trying to pick people off with Morgana binds, you need to be able to see people deep into their own jungle.
Yeah, and look, they're moving around the map, but they're just being spotted at every juncture. Katie's being pinged out again, walking over another ward. So they have absolutely no control over where the enemy vision is, which is just as important where your vision is.
Yeah, and if Sudden Fear are going to, keep this game going, they're happily sitting in their own third of the map, farming up. They've got plenty of map control in terms of being able to quickly move around it. So whatever Qlimax do, as long as Sudden Fear have the vision, they should be able to react with Shen Rek'Sai.
Yeah, and using the Rek'Sai to really try and get control of where Sybil is. Now Sybil has spotted a ward, so smiting away those Raptors camps is going to be extremely important for Qlimax crew if they're not choosing to, I guess, upgrade those sweepers.
We'll see what happens here. Qlimax again just trying to move Sudden Fear further back into their own third of the map here. Paps has found a friend. There's a Dark Blinding landing. Moon, though, gets blown up there by the Xerath. Damage not quite enough there. Stealthix blocks the ultimate as well from Caitlyn. But here comes Shen and Rek'Sai as well. Paps picks up Moon there with a Q. Stealthix are chasing Energizer. Pink Foamy's coming, though. Double kill there for Xerath as he pops the next charge of his ult. Caitlyn does go down to Stealthix, though, and Squiggle has now joined the fray as well, but he's getting chased down 2v1, soon to be 4v1 as well. Nowhere to go. Will get slowed down, does jump on, but Pap's going to get his third kill of that fight, and that went all Sudden Fear's way.
Yes, and they've been able to secure their blue buff of it as well. Sybil is looking to get in there for a bit of a steal, but needs to be so careful. That Shen is so tanky. Able to pick that one up over to Xerath, so they have a double buff Xerath with only a minute on Dragon. Sudden Fear looking very nice in this mid game.
And you mentioned that you wanted to see Qlimax be more proactive when they hit their item spikes around the 25-30 minute mark, and maybe a little too late here on that one. Sudden Fear, the way their comp set up, is actually really reactive. But if they play things correctly and they have strong vision, which they clearly have, at least in their own half of the jungle, you can do so much work. There was, 2-3 people in the area there for Sudden Fear, and they saw 3 members of Qlimax and instantly had a 5-man fight.
Yeah, as we jump into the replay here, we see that Moon gets stunned up without putting his black shield out. That's actually a couple of times that's happened. He just gets absolutely blown up. Whilst Paps goes down quite low, look at that from here. Katie's on the top side of the map.
Yeah, teleport's a little late there. Stealthix thinking to get chunked out as well. It just went so well from there for Sudden Fear. Beautiful position, able to use those globals to get everyone into the fight. And yeah, that went horribly wrong for Qlimax. Cute thing as well, Christmas Tree is actually teleported to his own turret to make sure he could not get his ultimate cancelled by Aurelia.
Yeah, nicely done. And we saw that in that replay, Shen actually was able to pick up the top lane turret as well. So giving even more gold back into Sudden Fear, they're going to maybe be able to pick up their third Dragon of the game because Squiggle's gone back to that top lane, knowing the timer of Dragon, and doesn't have teleport available.
Yeah, just used it for that last fight, but couldn't quite get enough kills. And Sudden Fear going to get themselves a very clean third Dragon. Rek'Sai going to ultimate all the way to the closest tunnel. Isn't even needed for the smite. Caitlyn's going to secure that one, but third Dragon there for Sudden Fear, and you can see how quickly they move now as a team with that movement buff as well. And Qlimax, we talked about it, they're running out of options here.
Yeah, and Shen's getting tankier and tankier. I think Bommy also starting to join him there. Got a lot of health, picked up a Sunfire Cape for himself. And that Void Star coming out on APAP is so important for the poke that's coming through.
And I love the choice here by Christmas Trees to enchant his boots with Distortion. Knows that he is going to be teleporting a lot. He's pretty much needed for map control more than anything else. And he might not be able to kill Aurelia, but as long as he keeps the wave even and is able to control the side waves, that's all he needs to do.
Yeah, and the only weakness, I guess, is wow, Katie jumps in and chunks APAP. Of their composition is being able to start fights. The only way they can probably start a fight if they do get ahead is a flash taunt. So having that flash available from that distortion even more often will help them out in the late game.
Other than that, though, the captain's boots up for a brawler as well. So Sudden Fear have a very clear plan here, and he's just got to hang out, farm, and see what happens. Because you mentioned it before, their late game seems really good here. And it has a will dodge away from that binding as well. Still pressuring Twiddle, maybe looking at diving, does go in, but brawler is in there instantly. Good black shield from Moon. In fact, the rest of Qlimax have almost all rotated through now. So they're going to try and see this tier 2 turret. Oh my goodness, Brawler. Almost gets killed there by Katie. In fact, it's going to be close ignite. Not quite enough, though.
Yeah, and this means that the siege is just going to be set up. The problem is, though, the Shen ultimate is still available. So if they do try and dive again, now that that DFG and Ignite isn't available, they're just going to be shielded up by Shen, not going to be able to die as well. The ultimate even coming out.
Great ult there from Xerath. Oh, it's enough Energizer with the ace in the hole. Able to pick up that kill. When we talk about playing reactive on the map and sniping people, great use of their abilities there to poke someone out.
Yeah, and we spoke about the advantage of Shen being able to, wow, Squiggle, you're in a lot of trouble.
Little too deep, they get stunned up by Zera. True Barrage comes through, but it's not enough. Stealthic's trying to pick up a kill, will not get it. Well, Aurelia did take out Janna with the help of Ezreal, but they got to keep going in here. Tunnel through for Rek'Sai, Proseeker just wide. I mean, it's still a 3v4 if they want to fight this. I don't think Qlimax want to go in.
I think that Qlimax wanted them to keep chasing. I think they're confident in Celtic's ability to be able to kite backwards, but without any life steal yet on Ezreal, pretty dangerous to be able to aggressively go forward. Does need that BT to be finished off to be able to do that one. So all in all, a great fight from Sudden Fear. They've picked themselves up a 2,000 gold advantage and looking to transition into quite a late game. It's already 34 minutes in. And start sieging down these objectives.
Yeah, and you just saw, when Xerath finally made his way to a tower set of fan, how much of a difference the Void stuff made for his build. He does so much damage when he's poking under a turret, and he's able to very easily clear out minion waves as well. So Sudden Fear, as we've said, very defensive setup, but they're playing it perfectly as they move towards the later stages of the game.
Yeah, and the more I think about this Gen, the more I like it, because Xerath and Caitlyn are both very safe carries, and they may even be able to go 6 semi-offensive items, with, of course, being able to pick up a Bloodthirster on Caitlyn for that quasi-defensive item, and the Zhonya's Hourglass on Xerath, and then the Shen Shield will be able to just keep them up for as long as they're needed to, because there's only one really burst damage threat, and that is Katie's as well.
Yep, that's it. I'm just going to hang out, go towards the blue side of the jungle and farm up. And Dragon not quite up yet. It's a couple minutes left until we're going to see that again. But just some more farming, and again, Sudden Fear just never seem in a hurry to do anything this game. Yeah, every time Qlimax go in, they're ready to answer.
Yeah, they're playing so controlled, and it seems like Qlimax have always been the team that have a game on a timer. You feel that the longer it goes, the more it suits Sudden Fear's team composition, but also their play style, because they are just so patient.
Yeah, certainly in this particular game, with the way the compositions work out, Qlimax, I think we're hoping things went better 5 to 10 minutes ago, and maybe struggling a bit to find a foothold in this game. I mean, Baron, I think, is the one place where Sudden Fear have to be very careful with how they control that. But Christmas Trees is down the bottom now, split pushing a Shen, going to start taking more turrets. There's 4, actually, for Sudden Fear as they finally get the edge in turrets. And Qlimax are just afraid to fight.
Yeah, and look, Katie goes in there, pops his Q and his ultimate onto a pink bomby and just does no damage. As we see a little bit of a tango on the bottom lane, but you feel that Squiggle's even past his power spike fighting Christmas Tree.
Oh, they're going to go in. Monsoon, they're massive for Brawler. But they're going to keep moving in. Sybil taking a lot of damage. Poke now coming through as well. And the ultimate will get chunked out here. Good dodges here coming through. But look at the poke damage. Stealthix almost get 2 shots by that ultimate. If that last bottle hit him, he was probably dead.
Yeah, and that's the siege comp coming through. They're going to be able to walk up to this turret now, be able to take it out with that long range from Caitlyn. She's got so much AD as well at this point. And wow!
Great knock up there. Stealthix in trouble. Not quite enough damage, but there's the turret they want. Sudden Fear will keep taking objectives. Aurelia forced to move in towards the middle as well. Christmas Trees will stay down the bottom with his Shen. Continue pushing in. Brawler actually going to get caught up. Needs to be careful. Stun those come through. Good tornado as well. Brawler is going to die, but Squiggle may pay for it with his life. A good knock up there for Rek'Sai. Katie over the side will force the ultimate out from Shen onto Paps. And that's Squiggle still diving in. Moon, though, getting obliterated as Pink Bomi picks up credit for that kill. And Sudden Fear, just so much control.
Yeah, and look at that. They look like they've been caught out. Brawler gets taken out. Shen decides not to ultimate. In the end, a very good call as well. Paps needs to be careful.
Yeah, he's dead. As Sybil's cataclysm's right on top of his face. Able to pick up that kill there. So I think it's 2 for 1 in favor of Sudden Fear as all the dust settles. But still plenty of options here. And I think you really hit it when you said that Sudden Fear look like they're out of position. But when you have 2 global ultimates and a semi-global in Xerath, you'll never really caught out of position.
Yeah, the danger here for Sudden Fear, however, is that Dragon's up in 20 seconds. So will not be able to contest this one without Apex, you feel. Going to go over to Qlimax Crew. So that will be their second Dragon of the game. They'll really appreciate that one, although it will be in full vision because of that skeleton.
I think they might be able to contest. Shen's able to teleport in. If they can get everyone down there now, or start moving there now, they could contest. Rek'Sai's in the area. China moving down with captains as well. It's going to be close.
Yeah, I just don't think they want to fight this one. It's a 5v4. Pats contain so much of their power. They're only really a 2 damage threat. So this one will be going over to Qlimax Crew. Able to pick that one out. They're just trying to get their lanes pushing on the side of Sudden Fear. Why risk it?
Yeah, that second Dragon going to help with maybe one of the biggest issues here for Qlimax. They've not been able to take out any tier 2 turrets in this particular game. Knocked down all the others, had a bit of space, but couldn't do too much with it here. As now Baron's going to go. Oh, they're actually going to go in. Nope, never mind. No, he's tricked me again. Pink Bomi will start off the Baron here, and it's actually going down quite quickly. True Shot Barrage will check it. But it might actually just
just giving a bit of help. Zareth coming through as well. Baron very low. It's under half health.
Yeah, that's being taken down. What a fantastic decisive call coming through. And now they've funneled in onto the Zareth. This is exactly what they did not want to do.
Yeah, teleport coming through, but everyone from Sudden Fear has already backed off. And Qlimax, no one left to pick off. You can collapse the Rek'Sai tunnels and clear out a bit of vision, but it's a little too late. And the classic trade Dragon for Baron. Dragon's probably worth it a bit more now on this patch, but probably still not worth it in that instance.
Yeah, second Dragon, definitely not worth the Baron. And wow, look how patient Sudden Fear are. They could have had a team fight there. The teleport came through. They knew exactly where Squiggle was going to be. They're deciding to pick up some more items, and they're sitting very pretty in this game.
You can see the gold lead really skyrocketed as well. It was very even pretty much this entire game, and we've got close to 5,000 ahead now for Sudden Fear. So slow and steady definitely winning them this race, but they are looking firmly in control. And it's crazy to me. They have played almost all of the last 50 to 20 minutes of this game towards their own tier 2 turrets in their own third of the map, and they just never seem flustered.
Yeah, they certainly played very, very patiently, able to get exactly what they want. Second offensive item is now being started by Squiggle. We'll be going for that Blade of the Ruined King. You think it might be a little bit too late because this Shen looks like he's going to be 6 defensive items. He's going to be an absolute wreck. You're not going to be able to move him anywhere.
Yeah, just going full tank, and Sudden Fear have got very full-looking inventories now as well. We look back over to Qlimax, so things are starting to look a bit better here. Void stuff has been completed for LeBlanc. We've got some nice tanky items up for Jarvan with a Hex Drinker, I think most recently joining the mix. And Ezreal as well, working towards what is probably a BT, but possibly the Essence Fever we saw yesterday as well.
Yeah, you would hope it might be the BT as we see a massive minion wave coming down the bottom lane. Look how quickly they're able to take that one out.
Yeah, Ultimate as well, just going to try and poke Stealthix off his own turret. Doesn't eat any of the bolts, so good dodging there. Sybil will also block the ace in the hole, but that's fine for Sudden Fear. They're just trying to siege here. Aurelia's going to run back down, no teleport, so has to back. Brawler almost dead. That DFG almost able to take out poor Jana, but they're still pressuring here. That Baron Dub cannon creep's doing so much work.
Yeah, there's a couple of them there. They're not able to take them out. And meanwhile, in the mid lane, Christmas Tree's just got so much work done. And look, he just takes no damage whatsoever.
Yeah, got his ultimate ready as well for that massive shield, even though it's not really going a big distance. And this Baron creeps, all they have to do is protect him, and he'll eventually... Oh, good snipe there from Stealthix. Yep, here we go again, though. Cannon creeps moving in once again.
Yeah, Brawler needs to be careful. He's the only person really in danger of being bursted down here as well. The second turret goes down. The whole base is now opened up.
Yep, just such great siege pressure. Brawler finally dies on Squiggle though, but there's Pap gets ulted on top of Energizer. Good position, nets himself back. There's a kill action as Jarvan takes out Rek'Sai. But Sudden Fear going to keep running in despite having a man disadvantage. There's that first kill actually as Aurelia goes down to Paps. They're actually a man down there still fighting here 3v4. One inhibitor goes down, likely not able to get the second, but perfect siege play there from Sudden Fear.
Yeah, they've just played this textbook so patiently, waiting for exactly what they wanted. Yeah, they got a couple of people killed, but as we said, if you get objectives off a couple of deaths, you'll take that. Bottom inhibitor is the most inhibitor. Wow, Sybil, a little bit of a misclick there maybe. Bottom inhibitor is the most important inhibitor on the map to take, just because of how much control they have now over the next Baron with that one going down.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. Qlimax have got a pretty big hill to climb back up here if they want to try and win this game. And it's just, they've never been given a fight that they wanted. They've got so many great pick tools in their comp. They've got a pretty good team fight as well if they can start big 5v5s. But Sudden Fear have just said, you know what? We've got a siege comp. We've got great split push and global map pressure. We don't have to fight you to win this game, and they haven't.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with forcing Katie onto this LeBlanc. We saw a lot of attention being given to the mid lane in the pick ban phase. Katie quite comfortable on LeBlanc, but they seem to be that's what they wanted to play against. Apex did a fantastic job, even though got killed early, staying up in the mid game, and now it's turned into nearly a 6-item monster, being able to finish up a defensive item as the last item as well.
Yeah, BT finished up for Energizer's Caitlyn as well. So just doing so much damage with the headshots. Even got the Fury Bits here, which combines beautifully with the Janna speed, with both her passive and her captain boots. And Mikhail's, I mean, Brawler is playing really strong, just peeling for this ADK. We talked about Janna. She's probably the single best supporter protecting an individual member of a team.
Yeah, by far the best person to keep people off your carries, as well as having that Shen in there, will be quite a feat to be able to take Energizer out at this point in the game. Well, that Shen ult is on cooldown, so if they want to fight, it might be now.
Yeah, I mean, he's got his telly, but that's a little later than the big impact shield and the teleport that Staying United provides. But I have to think, how long has it been since Qlimax have played against Shen? It almost feels like they're readjusting to how that works. They've struggled a lot against Christmas trees.
Yeah, certainly have. And look, wow, he's picked up a wit's end. Talk about champions you don't see. What about items you don't see in a long time? So being able to shred through some of that MR, maybe add a little bit more damage to a Apex Xerath, as well as give him some attack speed to be able to push down these lanes.
And you can see he's just plowing through the minions now. So annoying is the Shen. And it looks like they're just committing to either a 1-4 and they can possibly go for a 1-3-1 if they wanted to as well. See Pink Foamy's Rek'Sai very tanky now as well. With that Banshee as well. That was at quite a while ago here. And I like the Merc Treads with the Home Guard there as well for some pretty sweet global ganks.
Yeah, looks like they will just set up for this next dragon. Wow, did Katie just DFG Banshees?
Possibly. I think he was trying to pick up Papsa using Distortion plus Mimic Distortion, but wasn't able to get in range. Papsa's totally fine in that situation. Dragon now going to go here to Sudden Fear. That'd be their fourth if they're able to secure it. Christmas Tree's providing lots of defense. Good smite there from Rek'Sai. And that's the fourth dragon. Very important there for Sudden Fear. Sybil in trouble. Does Flag and drag out though.
Yeah, I think this game is very much on the brink. And unless Qlimax crew can actually pull out something right now, they're in a lot of trouble. Bottom wave is pushing into their base. Squiggle giving Christmas Trees a nice run-off, but I don't think they're going to be able to kill him. And that second offensive item just coming a little bit too late in the game.
Yeah, I think as well that last item for Shen is probably a Warmogs, which would make him pretty much intractable in that whatever lane he wants to go to, if it's the top lane he wants to stick through. Sudden Fear also sieging up this mid inhibitor now as well. Sybil will go in there onto the borrowed Rek'Sai, but just tunnels out. Katie going to go and Squiggle jumps in as well. Got a shield there from Brawler. Plus those Captain Boots, just making it so hard to catch anyone.
Yeah, look how quickly he flies around that map, and this is exactly what they want. They're forcing them to engage on it while the bottom wave pushes. Now they can just move in for that mid inhibitor if they would like to. They've actually sent a Pink Tommy back, but we'll just be able to teleport straight to the tunnel. So he's equal with Shen now, and the siege continues in the middle.
Yeah, has that Home Guard Boots as well, so they're going to get back even quicker, and they're going to even move Shen in for some 5v5 action now as well. I think the bottom inhibitor's coming back up relatively soon. So they'll have to pick their options here where they want to split. But Qlimax, again, just have no options. They feel like they've done nothing in the last 25 minutes. And that's not, discredit to them as a team. That's credit to the way Sudden Fear are playing. They're going to go in there. Sybil will try and find it. Brawler gets eaten there by LeBlanc, but Caitlyn takes out that inhib. Sybil not getting quite those Squiggle jumps on the Energizer Christmas Tree. So look at the shield there from that Shen. And they're going to keep kiting back here. Moon, a little bit out of position. So is Stealthix. That Christmas Tree is tanking everybody else there from Qlimax. Energizer low on very low health will somehow get away. Paps, though, is now getting aggressed on Moon. Going to rejoin as well. Good binding there going on to Pink Foamy, and Paps is going to go down. No, not quite yet. Pops is on his Hourglass, but does go down to Ezreal. And the Qlimax may have just found enough time to turn this around 4-0.
Yeah, what a great fight. Katie being able to blow up Brawler at the start was so important. That may even be the Baron if they so choose to go that way, and I think they should. But it looks like they're just backing off to reset. So even though they win the fight, they don't get an objective, even though Sybil is full health.
And for how much credit we've given Sudden Fear over the course of this game, the one time they do what their team comp suggests they shouldn't do, group as 5 members and force a brawl, they get 4-0 there by Qlimax's team fight. I mean, you see what happens when they want to start a 5v5.
Okay, and it looks like Qlimax will actually decide to go for that Baron, so they'll be able to pick that up. Death time is so long at this time of the game. It is nearly 50 minutes in. And yeah, as you said, as soon as they grouped up, it looks like that is exactly what Qlimax was waiting for. One mistake, unforgiving game, and yeah, that's a Baron over to them right back in the game.
I mean, Shen was looking to rejoin them. Top lane wave was pushing pretty close to where halfway between the tier 2 and tier 3 turrets of Qlimax. So there was a big mini wave coming top. Bottom was still pushing with that inhibitor coming back. They had all of the split push options in the world, and Sudden Fear did maybe the one thing they shouldn't and just went for the 5v5 and got punished severely for that action. And despite the fact that Christmas Trees took about 10 years to die, he died eventually, and then it just didn't matter.
Yeah, and I feel that going this build with pretty much 6 defensive items, and it is probably a defensive item as well in its own right, he just does nothing else but tank people. If he had to clone that Trinity Force in there as the 6th item, would be a legitimate threat by himself in a sideway, but now he really has no choice but to group up, because Squiggle might even be able to solo him now that he's picked up that next Negatron cloak.
I almost think the opposite's true, where he just has to not team fight, because he can't jump on a carry and try and kill them. It's simple. He's going to get caught out there. We'll get knocked up by Rek'Sai. Bolts will come through. Xerath needs one more. Does go down to Rek'Sai instead. And a bit too far forward there for Qlimax. Feeling a bit too confident with their Baron buff.
Yeah, and that's a complete nightmare for Qlimax, because it will mean that they don't get to... Wow, is that not a pick ball?
That's bad news there as well. Rek'Sai tunnels up. Good tornado from Jana as well. And they'll keep that poke going.
As well.
Aurelia wants to fight. Qlimax needs to take advantage of the power play. Never mind, Sybil's dead. They should probably back off.
No, they're just trying to get as much out out of this Baron as they can. Squiggle still might be able to catch Apex here. He's in a lot of trouble. Doesn't have any summoners available.
That flash was sick there by Squiggle, but there's Sands United. Papso still going to go down, and Stealthix able to pick up that kill. Rek'Sai will rejoin after going back to base, but that's to try and peel for the team here. And Qlimax have a bit more ground here in this particular game. Stealthix going to go back as well on that Ezreal. Banshee's finished up now as well. He's 6 items.
Yeah, so it looks like a lot of action, but really a whole lot of nothing just happened. They're trading a couple of kills for both sides, but no objectives picked up. So the map really in the exact same spot it was about 5 minutes ago. As Qlimax once again setting up, trying to get some vision around this dragon. More because if Sun and Fear are able to pick the next one up, that will be their 5th, I believe.
Yes, you're right.
And that will be so much power going over onto them.
And that's one of the things I just love about this patch. There is so much stuff on the map. Christmas trees in onto Moon there. That damage coming through for Energizer. Katie pops over, trying to get some work done. And look how tanky the front line is here. Qlimax though will disengage bindings and distortions everywhere as Jarvan's also respawn. But Qlimax probably can't get to this 5th dragon in time. 45 seconds till that comes back, and you said it already, Sudden Fear, that would be their 5th dragon of the game if they can pick it up.
Yeah, and I feel like Energizer has just reached over and hugged Brawler there because he saved his life from that LeBlanc, able to knock up mid-distortion there to stop a lot of that damage coming through. Looks like not going for a Banshee's Veil that we see a lot. Got a Giant's Belt, actually, on Caitlyn, trying to get her effective health as high as possible.
Yeah, Paps is dead as well. He's got Home Guard boots. He'll be streaming back towards this dragon, and this is a crucial timing here. Just less than 20 seconds till it comes back. Blue buff here as well. But some good wards here for Qlimax. They can probably force Sudden Fear out from out under their own blue buff. Blue buff went over to, I think, Rek'Sai there. Christmas Tree's face taking a lot of damage as well. And this dragon, this is a big contest. Oh, Christmas Tree's great flash on the Katie. Great knock up there for Rek'Sai as well. And now the damage comes through, but they are going to turn it back around here. Sybil will jump in on his Jarvan, taking so much damage. Katie picks up Bomi. Christmas Tree's in trouble now as well. Sybil has kited back towards his team, and that's 2 clean kills coming up for Qlimax crew. Sudden Fear, nothing left there, though Squiggle gets a 3rd kill as well.
Yeah, the damage coming out of Qlimax was so much stronger there. With how much Sybil tanked compared to how quick Epic Bombing went down, that was just insane. And they're able to pick up the dragon. So, more importantly than getting it for themselves, they have denied it for another 6 minutes from Sudden Fear, who are now in Storm mode. And now in the super late game, you feel whoever wins the next team fight, if it is clean, will be able to pick up the game.
And again, just the best thing about this patch, there is always stuff going on, even when we get to the later stages of the game. You know, 50-minute game in last season, you would have seen the dragon and be like, just don't even bother. It's not worth anything. But we have one team on 4 dragons and one team on 3 dragons. And Baron is still a massive threat as well. I think for me, the coolest thing about Dragon versus Baron as we move into late game is that they're both very important most of the time because each team will have quite a lot of dragons. Baron is so much harder to kill than Dragon though. So if you leave the dragon, it dies very quickly. But you can't afford to let Baron go away either. So you have to make very delicate choices, and your map movement and vision has to be stellar to win in the late game.
Yeah, I think you hit it on when you said map vision. No longer do you have to control vision on half the map. You only used to have to control vision on Baron, and then you could move around the map freely. Now you have to make sure that you have vision all over Dragon. Otherwise, as you said, if they're able to pick up a 5th Dragon, that is absolutely huge. The individual stats it gives to every player is just so big at a later part of the game. As we see, Qlimax's wards now on the bottom side of the map are just covering everything. They have complete vision of the jungle of Sudden Fear.
Yeah, I wonder if Energize is going to switch to a sweeper there. Actually, doesn't. Sorry, I meant Oracle's Lens, also known as Knight. That's the wrong one. Anyway, we're going to have a wet noodle fight here. Christmas trees and Squiggle. We're going to fight Pink, Booming, and Brawler up here as well. Squiggle might actually die here. That'd be a big deal. Dinah's got to be quite careful. Really, there's a lot of damage. The bolt's coming in. Good Monsoon as well, just to keep Brawler alive. And they are going to get Squiggle. No, dashes away. Could be all right here. Banshee's Veil still up, by the way. Mooney going to find a binding, but the tunnel still goes through, and Squiggle somehow escapes the top lane.
That's absolutely massive. 3 people and the ultimate coming out of Apex and still not able to take him down. This is a problem with 6-item defensive Shen. Yeah, he's really tanky. Yeah, he's great for some CC and that ultimate, but afterwards, he just kind of sits around and doesn't contribute much.
Yeah, and for me, it was more about Christmas trees wanting to sit in the lane. Knows it's probably too difficult to beat Aurelia 1v1, so if Aurelia can't kill you, you can just keep pushing and Sunfire keeping down the minions, and you will eventually wear down a turret, which is why I thought the Christmas trees shouldn't join fights as much, because even if you dive onto the carries and get a great 3-4-man taunt, you don't do enough damage at this point as Shen that you might as well just be in a lane and try and being as annoying as you possibly can be.
Yeah, I think the problem is now that Squiggle is 6 items, he can actually just 1v1 Shen with Christmas Tree. So maybe look for him to get rid of that Sunfire Cape. It isn't doing as much work as it was at the start of the game, just because of all the incidental MR that comes through with levels and with items. Just loses some effectiveness. So look for him to trade that one out when he does have enough gold.
Yeah, I mean, I think Thornmail, you mentioned earlier, is an item he could like. Would probably be quite good here, especially if he wants to do a bit more team fighting as well.
And we're seeing Rek'Sai's strength here. No one's moving, but ooh.
I didn't even think of that. That's adorable.
Yeah. So whilst no one's moving, you can't see anything, but if they had moved even a tiny bit, he would have been able to pick up complete vision control. As Katie able to solo out the blue buff for himself, picking that one up.
Yep, and everyone just...
Complete reset. No one wants to make a mistake. Wow, Sybil flying in there. Looking for an ultimate, I believe, but just a little bit too far ahead of his team.
Good tornado there from Brawler as well. Just trying to keep Jarvan zoned off here. And we're going to have to do a bit of re-evaluation here, Spawn, because we like Sudden Fear as we move towards the late game, but we're a little bit further past the late game now. Pretty much everyone has 6 items at this point. And if we're going to late game, which it seems like we're heading, whose team comp do you actually like?
I think both team comps are very even as well. Shen's got a...
Frozen Mallet.
I forgot the name of that item. It is. This is a Season 2 build for sure. As Katie dives in, just to pop the Banshee's Veil away.
Christmas Tree has so much health.
No, Apex doesn't have a Banshees anymore. It has actually picked up a Rylai's Crystal Scepter.
Oh, just a visual bug then. That's nice and confusing. But yeah, I noticed the Rylai's before, kind of complimenting the Frozen Mallet. And the Ice Punk. Oh, there's Ice Punk on the other team. Never mind, just complimenting the Frozen Mallet. So lots of Kai potential here for Sudden Fear. Very interesting way to play this particular comp.
Yeah, and really putting a lot of emphasis on the need to ultimate Apex if he is dove upon. Randuin's Omen has been picked up by Energizer as well, so that's a defensive item. Obviously fearing this Aurelia more than fearing the LeBlanc. As we see, Baron is started up on the side of Qlimax. Look how tanky Baron is, though. This is going to be very hard.
Yep, Squiggly diving in as well. Sudden Fear will move through. Does not. Oh, good by shield execution. Spellamoon. And that's Sybil going to dive through as well. Christmas Tree is just sponging so much damage. So Qlimax can't get into the back there. Squiggle going to dive in. There's Sybil on top as well with the ultimate. But Shen Shield doing so much work. Good Monsoon to reset out of Cataclysm as well. And Paps is down the side just throwing in poke. There's the first kill of Shen. Takes it Morgana. There's the second, I believe, as Sybil gets low but does not go down. Katie somehow snipes off Rek'Sai, but Stealthix is trying to chase down Christmas Trees. Ezreal does not want to chase through, and as the dust settles, only a 2-for-1 trade.
Yeah, so able to pick up 2 kills on the side of Sudden Fear, and Sybil needed to be careful in that brush. That was very, very brave to recall there. Baron's still up. Turrets are taking a lot of damage, particularly in that bottom lane where Shen is heading towards. That one is nearly going to 4 creeps, under half health already.
And I mean, this is one of those games where side wave control really matters if that's something you're thinking about, because the minion waves are going to start winning the game on their own here. But looks like Sudden Fear are going to do a very aggressive Baron call here. Going to take out the crab, clear out these pink wards, and they're back on the Baron here. Qlimax don't really have mobility. They do have teleport up here for Squiggle, but no one else is too far around. Sybil is in the back. He could maybe try and find a Baron steal here. But Sudden Fear are looking to secure this Truja Barrage because it's Sybil. Wants to steal it and gets it. Does find the Baron. Is sponging the damage as well. My favorite with his life. But Qlimax have managed to get this Baron. If they can get out safely, that's a big, big win.
Yeah, what they were trying to do is bait the whole of the Qlimax team in there because they knew they didn't have the smite. They knew that Sybil was going to steal that, but they wanted more people to commit so they could pick up kills and get the inhibitors. In the end, 1 kill for Baron on 4 members of the other team is not what Sudden Fear wanted to live. Once again, just got a little bit over-aggressive, although if they can pick up the 5th dragon, it might still be in their favor.
That's what I was going to say. Pink Bomb is careening straight towards that objective, but Qlimax are already here to pick it up. Katie is going to find Bomby, pops the Banshees, slows him up there as well. Does a decent chunk of damage, actually. 6 out of the Blanc is no joke. And Qlimax is going to try and take their 4th dragon of the game here. For the rest of Sudden Fury here. Sybil is not around for the smite. This could be the 5th dragon here for SF. Can they try and steal? They're going to go through, but Rek'Sai secures it with the spite. Pink Bomby, though, quite low. Good reset for Brawler as he comes into the Monsoon. Squiggle just gets eaten alive by this dragon damage team. And Pink Bomby still somehow alive as well. Damage coming through there as Christmas Trees is going to try and find it in. Does find Stealthix for the kill, and there's 2 clean for 0. Make it 3, in fact, as well. And Sudden Fear might just end the game now.
Yeah, wow. A little bit of miscommunication there from Brawler and Christmas Tree splitting up there. Katie able to pick up a kill, but this will be both inhibitors, if not the game. 5 dragons, so important on this patch, and wow, look at the damage coming through.
Yeah, I mean, it's just nuts. We saw as soon as that dragon happened, Squiggle, who's such a massive tank, Aurelia Morgana getting sniped there as well by Paps. There's 2 inhibitors here, and look at the damage. Paps though gets eaten by Katie. This LeBlanc still doing work. Energizer though, beefing out the damage here on 6-item Caitlyn, plus the 5 dragons. Nothing Sybil can do, gets destroyed by Energizer. And this might be it. These death times are still very long, and Sudden Fear, they're going to try and end a very long game.
Yeah, and all they have to do is peel for Energizer. No, Katie being able to push off the whole team solo as LeBlanc, going to decide to go for 3 inhibitors instead of risking fighting that LeBlanc at this point in the game. Energizer just needs to stay safe.
Thankfully can't headshot turrets, so the turret's going to take quite a lot of time to take out. Do get it, will not get the 3rd inhib yet. And we'll actually can't move in for it. Rek'Sai and Shen little too low, and Qlimax will get a chance to fight their way back into this insane game.
Yeah, and wow, Katie's still chasing them off. Does decide to go back. Big minion waves that need to be looked at by Qlimax, but Sudden Fear have played this game so defensive, and I'm going to say nearly to a fault now. They have just not wanted to pull the trigger on anything they're not 100% sure on, and if you play a game that way, yeah, if you play it perfectly, then you will win. But if you make one mistake at this point in the game, they're just going to stream down mid and win the game.
Yeah, I mean, you can play late game compositions, or just play compositions that take a long time to win. It's not even that, split push and poke is good late game. It's just, it takes a while. Like, you have to play perfectly for 30 minutes straight, and you eventually just wear down your opponent. But we saw the one mistake that Sudden Fear made, forcing the 5v5 in mid lane, dragged this game on for about 20 more minutes, and we still don't know who's going to win, despite Sudden Fear getting 5 dragons.
Yeah, we certainly don't. 6 item now being picked up for Energizer. Has decided to swap out those boots for Zephyr, so going to be attacking very, very quickly, but that will actually hurt the kite against Aurelia. More pressure than ever is now on Brawler, and you feel it. Katie can continue to blow Brawler up. Energizer's in a position to now be soloed out from Squiggle on this Aurelia.
And I think for me, the biggest late game threat on the Qlimax side, as far as Sudden Fear are concerned, is this 6-item LeBlanc. We don't get to talk about it very often, because games don't go this long, and mages just tend to not get to 6 items. They get to maybe 3.5, 4 if they're lucky and the game's going late. But that's about it. When you have a high burst damage assassin with 6 basically pure damage items, I guess Banshee's Veil is defensive in this case, you actually kind of go over the health limit that your opponents are expected you're able to kill, and you can just blow up anyone, including tanks.
Yeah, definitely. And Brawler is probably the main target here. Doesn't have a Banshee's Veil, so is going to take a lot more damage from Katie as she chooses to pop a Banshee's Veil there on Christmas Tree.
Sudden Fear are going to go in. They can kind of muscle in for this inhibitor. Last time this happened, Qlimax would manage to win the team fight. Sugar Barrage coming in. Sybil going to dive in there as well. But look at the shield onto Energizer. Just kiting back as best he can. But that's some good baits there from Qlimax. Some key ultimates already being burnt here. Squiggle coming back in. Christmas Tree's diving onto Sybil. Round the side, Katie though gets a kill onto Xerath. That's huge. Energizer now in trouble as well. Almost getting killed now. And now Bomi is in so much trouble. The rest of Qlimax are on top of him. And they will hold here. 2 clean kills.
Yeah, really smart move from Christmas Tree to take out the inhibitor. Now dancing onto the turret to
He's
try
going
and
to
take
get
that
it.
down.
Does get the second one as well. Will finally go down as Katie picks up that kill. Godlike for that LeBlanc at 8-2 and 7. But what an insane game, Spawn.
Yeah, so back and forward. And even though they win the team fight with so much damage done to the base, just not going to be able to get anything else for it. 2 members still up. Will be able to repel them. And wow, Qlimax making all the right moves, but just so far behind structurally, they can't leave their base because of all 3 inhibitors now being down.
Yeah, it just felt like they never got a window into this game. Sudden Fear just continued to pressure them and just play the map. And honestly play circles around them for the first 40 minutes or so, but we're 20 minutes past that point in this particular game, and Sudden Fear have got some thinking to do. They've got a lot of the elements here for a winning position, but they actually have to win the game, which you noted before. You playing defensively is great and all, but at some point the Nexus still needs to explode. Not your Nexus.
Yeah, and now 62 minutes into the game. This is the longest one we've seen in a long time. Baron will be up again in about a minute. Dragon the exact same, so once again those both become a priority. You think with 3 inhibitors down, they'll both probably go over to Sudden Fear. However, we've seen some extremely strange things happening in this game, so I would not be surprised if Qlimax were able to push out and maybe even contest.
And the biggest thing for me is if Qlimax are able to get a 4th dragon, that next dragon becomes very, very important, because both teams would hit 5 if they're able to smite it away.
Yeah, and finally Shen has picked up that Trinity 4th, although a lot less tanky than what he was. Hasn't chose to swap out that Sunfire cape yet. I feel that that's just an extremely, I'm not going to say poor setup, but just prioritizing things that his team doesn't necessarily need at the moment. It really is on the mid laners, I feel. Who does more damage in these fights, Paps or Katie? If Katie can blow Paps up like he did last fight, they're definitely going to win.
Squiggle, not a few too many friends, gets loaded by Xerath. Look at the damage coming out there. GA will get popped instantly. Christmas Tree's going to run in the rest of Qlimax, trying to help him out. Sybil actually does go in, and he looks like he's able to get out of it. Christmas Tree's taking damage. Sybil, though, getting blown up as he dives into the back of the team, and now the Xerath ulti is going to pop in for a bit of damage. Moon actually quite tanky, but a great Taunt Flash there coming out on top. Able to clear out Morgana as well. Another 2 kills. Squiggle getting 1v1 by Pink Bummy as well. There's the 3 kills, and probably the game now for Sudden Fear.
Christmas Tree streaming towards that last Nexus turret. That will be game at 64 minutes for Sudden Fear, and wow, what a well-played competition.
Just insanity there between these two teams. 200,000 gold almost generated by both teams, and we expected to have a great weekend of games. Didn't quite expect the first game of the day to be 65 minutes or so.
Yeah, and you just saw how much is on the line here. Neither guys wanting to make any mistakes, and they just dragged it on for a long time. But Sudden Fear, you have to say, at least they stuck to their guns.
I mean, they knew what their comp was doing. They had a very thorough, very defensive plan. Execution towards the end of their plan, little bit awkward at times, but they still knew that, if we pick good fights, we stay together as a team. Not many teams are used to playing 60-minute games. That's super, super late game. But Sudden Fear, I think, with the way they were navigating just the whole game in general, already planning to play a long game, just kind of that situation, which is very abnormal, suited them a little bit better.
Yeah, and they certainly were playing to not make mistakes. So you have to say that when it does go super late, then they're going to come out ahead if they do play that strategy.
Yeah, just really fun stuff here. And okay, we're going to have a replay. Let's see what happened in this very insane effect. This was a big turning team fight.
Yeah, so this is where they're streaming in and trying to take down a bottom turret and the mid inhibitor at the same time. So they get in there and Squiggle able to blow someone up, but the fight back is very, very real. You see the kill come through, and APAP able to do so much damage. I think this is where Squiggle dies, and even though they win the team fight, they just lose so many structures. And you kind of see this is exactly how they wanted to play. They wanted to drag it out. They wanted to make sure that things went as long as possible. And even if they lost overall fights, they still picked up objectives in their favor.
Yeah, maybe Sudden Fear should have just played the last 5 minutes of this particular game a little differently, because they stopped split pushing after that point. Great team fight, pressured 2 objectives really well, always had map control, and then spent the last 20 minutes of that game just kind of grouping as 5 and hoping the team fight worked. Eventually one stuck, but got a little tricky towards the end of that game.
Yeah, it certainly did. And you mentioned map control. I feel that if Qlimax Crew are going to come back and win this, it has to be through denial of vision. We spoke about it in the mid-game. They weren't able to take enough wards off the map to get LeBlanc rolling. And Katie had a great game. His team just needs to support him on these assassins to be able to remove a lot of vision so he can do even more work.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what happens, guys. We're going to take a quick break.